Willpower is bullshit. It is reliant on too many things that are external to us and that are difficult to control at any given time. Hey squirrels, welcome to ADHD, where ADHD isn't some clinical diagnosis, it's just life. I'm AV, your always honest tour guide through this beautiful mess. Over here, we're not about fixing yourself. We're about figuring out how to actually enjoy your life as you are. So grab a snack and let's go. Squirrels, I missed you. Welcome back, squirrels. Today we are talking about the beauty and the trap that is time management and why it fails for neurodivergent brains and what we can do instead and how to stop hating ourselves every moment of the day. Thank you so much for joining me. And if you are here for the first time, hi, my name is Avi. If not, welcome back. We missed you so much. You're looking great today. You're really just so beautiful. So y'all, if your calendar looks perfect on Sunday, but it totally has exploded by Tuesday, that's not a character flaw, it's a design flaw. I mean, it might also be a character flaw, but it's definitely a design flaw. And today we're talking about why traditional time management breaks for neurodivergent brains and what to do instead so your days feel doable and not exhausting and draining. Welcome. This episode is for you because you are here, so welcome. And it's also for anybody who doesn't experience time in a neat linear way. If you have ADHD, dyslexia, dyspraxia, anyone honestly with fluctuating energy and a complex mind or a life full of interruptions, you will leave here with an energy first planning shift and at least one quick win that you can apply today. This is a productivity lens. This is not medical advice. This is not even wellness advice. It's simply what works for me and for us in terms of our productivity and what I've seen work time and again. So let's dive in. I cannot wait. And first, of course, let's talk about what's going wrong. What is broken in what we have right now? Because it's clearly broken. If it wasn't broken, we'd be fine and it would work great. Right, wrong. So what is the hidden flaw? Most time management systems assume three things. One, your attention is steady, your energy is predictable, and that it's easy or inexpensive to switch between tasks. And what I mean by inexpensive or by cheap to switch between tasks is that it doesn't take a lot of your currency. It doesn't take a lot from you. But the neurodivergent reality is that attention varies, energy fluctuates, and switching between tasks is not cheap. It's super expensive and takes a lot of your energy and of your bandwidth, and you need to be able to calculate for that. Think about time blocking as like one of those pervasive pieces of advice that we constantly get. It treats hours as if they're interchangeable. 10 a.m. is the same as 2 p.m. is the same as 4 p.m., but that's, I don't know, it's not dumb, but it's like not smart because your brain doesn't operate like a clock. Your hours aren't equivalent. Dopamine and attention aren't evenly distributed, so a perfect schedule is setting you up for failure. And to be fair, obviously, traditional systems work for a lot of people, especially people who are in stable, repetitive roles, especially people who have external deadlines or tight accountability or a boss. But if you're like me, a novelty-seeking person who's juggling complexity and living with frequent interruptions, which I think is all of us in the year of our Lord 2025, rigidity becomes a trap. When you're novelty seeking, when you're juggling complexity, or when you live with frequent interruptions like all of us, rigidity can really be a trap because we plan for a future self with perfect energy and zero disruptions, and that's somebody that doesn't exist. This is something that we learned about in social psychology called the planning fallacy. We tend to think that we will have more or better resources when we're planning for something than what we actually have in real life. And that's why our plans don't match with reality a lot of the time. So let's get specific about why neurodivergent thinkers experience time differently. And again, if this resounds with you, and if you feel like I'm talking to you, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're neurodivergent, that what I'm saying resonates with you. And that's cool. If you ever come across advice that resonates for you, great. Take it, use it, see what happens. This is not a diagnosis ever in this space. This is just a place for you to feel like people get it. So let's get specific about why you might experience time differently. And here we're revisiting our old friend time blindness, because many of us live in two time zones. And those two time zones are now, not now. So future tasks don't feel real. And planning for them is like trying to feel next week's weather. Like, let me put on a sweater right now because I'm going to be cold next week. That's a challenge. The other thing is that when we plan things in our mind, it checks off the same dopamine boxes as when we actually do them in real life. So if I plan something, I kind of feel like I did it. And that's why it's so important to always have somebody else to hand it off to. So that if I'm not doing the task now, I'm living in not now mode, there is somebody else that I can pass it off to. We experience time differently because of hyperfocus. We can call hyperfocus a superpower, and it is, for deep work and for creative leaps and when nothing needs to happen. But it is not a superpower when it's impeding on your life. Transitions become very, very heavy because we don't have to just stop the task. It's not like, oop, time, gotta stop. You have to literally pull yourself out. You have to extract yourself from this task and from this hyperfocus, which is a very difficult thing to do. And then task switching is expensive. And again, what I mean by that is that each switch requires a ramp up and a ramp down. So if your day forces 5 switches, then you pay that toll 5 times, and that compounds. You have to ramp up, ramp down, ramp up, ramp down, ramp up, ramp down 5 times. That's 10 transitions on a person where transitions have a heavy cost. That's a lot. And I want to really stress that structure is not the enemy. Overly rigid structure is the enemy. You want flexible supports, flexible scaffolding that adapt to your energy in real time instead of punishing you for being a human being. Think of it like there are 2 clocks running your day. The wall clock is in the kitchen and the brain clock tracks energy. But most systems only look at the wall clock and they don't take into consideration the brain clock. So then you get stuck. Okay, cool. We understand the problem. That's great, Abby. Now what do we do about it? Not quite yet. We're not ready to fix it yet. First, we need to talk about shame and how the actual challenge that we know and now we understand, right? We talked about time blindness. We talked about hyperfocus. We talked about task switching. We understand why it might be so difficult, but that doesn't negate the shame, okay? The shame around not sticking to your plan is like superfood to your burnout, right? Here's the loop that a lot of people are stuck in. You miss a planned block that leads you to feeling shame. You feel shame, you avoid the backlog. You avoid the backlog, you fall further behind. You fall further behind and you feel more shame, and it just repeats and repeats. And shame is heavy. It drains dopamine, it makes executive functioning harder, and your brain becomes less resourced to try again. Especially when it's draining our resources that are scarce resources anyways. It's extremely, extremely challenging. So let's reframe it, okay? And also let's tell ourselves the truth. The plan failed because it ignored energy variability. And there is a better plan that accounts for variability from the start. That's the truth you need to tell yourself. Not, I'm a failure who misses everything, so therefore I'm a steaming pile of crap and I can't ever do anything and I should never even try, because why would I try if I'm just going to fail everyone around me and they're going to be so disappointed in me, and they're right to be disappointed in me because I can't do anything anyways. Waste of time, waste of energy. All that whole loop, dumb, 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 dumb. Instead, wow, I really did not set myself up for success there. I ignored all of my energy variability. Next time I'm planning, I'm going to take that into account. There's some repair that needs to be done with ourselves, because the way that I talk to myself first and the way that maybe you talk to yourself is mean. So here's one tiny repair that you can start tonight. End each day with a credit list. 3 things you did, however small they were, give yourself some freaking credit. I answered a tough email, or I answered an email. That was tough for me. I moved my body for 10 minutes. I prepped a snack. I ate a snack. This breaks the shame spiral and proves to your brain that effort exists, even when the schedule didn't. Or that effort exists even when the schedule failed or faltered. It's okay. So you guys know that I absolutely love anchors and floaters, and we've talked about anchors and floaters a lot. I think that it grounds your energy. I think that it really, really helps you figure out your day. But that's not the only way. And anchors and floaters work really, really well after you know your energy. So we're going to talk about the energy first method. And that way we'll be able to build a plan for you that respects how your brain works. So this is the flow day method, which is reimagined without any anchors or floaters. It's energy matched and it's rule based. So it flexes with reality, right? You're always going to have rules for any given scenario, but you're kind of able to go with the flow a little bit better. So how do I do that if that sounds appealing to you? The first step is to map your energy. Map your energy curve. What happens to you throughout the day? What happens to you throughout your time? We're going to want to map our energy curve for at least 3 to 7 days because you need to notice your peaks, your neutrals, and your tough zones. Okay, we're going to call those peaks, which is when I'm clear and motivated. Neutral zones, where you're steady, you're functional, but not necessarily your best. And troughs, which are like foggy, fatigue, just like a big barrel of blech. And then keep it simple when you're doing that mapping. Quick notes on your phone, on your whiteboard, on your sticky notes, whatever. 10 to 11, I felt sharp. 2 to 3, I felt yuck or crashy or tired or whatever. Just notice. No judgment. Simple, quick notes whenever you remember, whenever you notice. Okay? And then step 2 is match your work types to the energy zones. So if you are in a peak energy, then that's time for creative, complex, strategic work, for writing, for problem solving, when your brain is at its best. When you're in a neutral energy, so admin, reviewing things, emails, planning, follow-ups, things where you don't have to generate a fresh idea from your mind necessarily. You're just doing things that are in front of you. And for your troughs, for your times, that's low stake maintenance, that's errands, it's environmental resets, right? Tidying up your house, hydrating, light movement, sunshine, right? Take care of yourself a little bit or do some low energy, low stakes stuff around the house that isn't going to have a detrimental impact on anything. So now that we've mapped our energy and we know ourselves a little better, and we're going to match our work types to our energy zones, what we now need to do is use a priority stack. A priority stack is different than a fixed slot. A fixed slot is, I am going to do this at this time. I'm going to answer my emails at 9 a.m. A priority stack is a single ranked list of the next 3 needle moving tasks that belong in your peak windows. So peak, I need to do 1, 2, 3. These are the top 3 things that are going to move the needle for me. Not 8, not 15, 3. And when a peak window opens, you pull from the top of the stack. There's no renegotiating midday. That is the rule. Therefore, by following that rule, you can prevent decision fatigue and keep your momentum going. Okay, so we have our priority stack. It has the top 3 things. The 4th step is that we're going to work in time box sprints with 1 restart cue. Okay, a sprint. A lot of people talk about Pomodoro. That's 20 minutes on, 25 minutes on, 5 minutes off, or 20 minutes on, 5 minutes off. Doesn't really work so well. I have spoken in the past about an adapted Pomodoro, which is 20 minutes on, 10 minutes off. That's okay. But for me, those are too short. 90-minute sprints are super awesome, but they can be a little bit too long. Okay? So you need to know what the sprint time is for you. Start with somewhere between 25 and 50 minutes. And then set a single external cue at about the 45-minute mark, right? If you chose 50 minutes. When it goes off, when your alarm goes off, check in with yourself and continue with another sprint, or stop and capture your next steps. 1 cue is enough. We don't need 5 timers bossing us around and telling us what to do. Beyond that, you will be training your brain to ignore the first 4 timers. 1 cue and we stop. We never ignore our cues. So when we are practicing those sprints, it's going to take a little bit of time and a little bit of fluctuation and a little bit of grace with yourself to figure out the length of the sprint that's going to work for you, the type of cue that's going to work for you. But what's most important here is that you're respecting the promises that you keep to yourself. And then remember that friction and controls beat willpower. Willpower is bullshit. It is reliant on too many things that are external to us and that are difficult to control at any given time. But you can put friction in place that will help you. So before each sprint, do a 60-second reset. You have one tab open, your phone's in another room, your headphones are on or your music is on, the surface is clear. You create high friction for distractions and low friction for the task at hand. It is going to be the easiest thing for me to come and sit down and do the task that is open in front of me rather than looking around at a million distractions and kind of trying to decide what I want to do, right? And then when something happens, right, something comes up and it pushes one of your peak tasks out of the way, don't allow that to erase the thing that you were kind of supposed to be working on, okay? You have to immediately assign it to the next similar energy window within 24 hours. So I have a high peak task that needs to happen today. It got pushed out because meetings came up or I needed to pick someone up from the bus or something happened that was unexpected. I can't say, okay, cool, I'll do that later. I have to say, all right, I'm going to do this during X time, assign it a value in a similar energy window immediately. Otherwise, it's just going to disappear and become total ghost work, which is sad and unfortunate. The next thing to do is to put guardrails around your capacity. So we want to aim for 60% capacity, meaning that you plan only about 60% of what you think you can do. And the remaining 40% covers your switching costs, your transitions, interruptions, recovery. If you routinely end your day depleted, then you're overplanned. You plan for too much of your capacity, which is a problem. Capacity doesn't mean literally how many hours I have in the day. It means how much can I do while respecting myself, my boundaries, my family, my time, etc. And then team hygiene, y'all, okay? That we need to respect your team's focus. When you respect your team's focus, your team is going to respect your focus. And that means publicly deciding that there's a daily no ping hour or an open door policy or an open door hour, right? People will adapt if they know when you're reachable and why it matters. They need to know when you're reachable and you need to know when they're reachable so you can be respectful of each other's energy. If they need you, they can stack requests for the open door window, or they can wait, or they can send an email, or whatever works for you. And vice versa. If you need them, there is a process to being able to reach them. So if we look at everything on a whole, some folks really, really thrive with the strict Pomodoro or full time blocking. And if that's you and it's working, keep going. You're awesome. But if your energy is a little bit more variable, then priority stacks, energy zones, swap rules, and friction controls usually will beat rigid timetables. And I know that that sounds like a lot. Like, what am I going to do all of that just to get through my day? And honestly, yes, like it sounds like a lot, but it's just so much better than constantly fighting yourself. So let's lock this in right now with a win. It takes 1 minute. Okay. Think about the last 3 days. When did you feel your most clear? Okay. And then pick the most common 45 to 90 minute window. Label it for one meaningful task today. Just one. So if over the past 3 days, I felt my best from like 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. That's my 45 to 90 minute window. Somewhere in there, I am going to pick one meaningful task to do during that time. For me today, it's record a podcast. Okay. And then protect yourself with a simple script. I am holding 9:30 to 10:30 for a focus sprint. If anything is urgent, I'll be available after 10:35. And send that to your assistant, send that to your team, send that to anybody who needs to know so that they will leave you alone. And then what goes in that window? The single task that moves the needle for the day. The proposal draft, the hard conversation prep, the strategy outline. We're not batching. We're not doing admin. We are doing the one single task that moves the needle. If your life is unpredictable, use micro peaks. 2 20-minute bursts that are spread out. If you can't do the full 45 to 90, it's cool. You will be shocked how much changes when your best energy isn't wasted on low leverage work. A couple of things that might get in our way. Yeah, just like realities of life. If you work shifts or you're a caregiver, then your time isn't really your own, which makes it really challenging. So what we're going to do here is use relative cues like after drop off, after lunch, right before pickup. That method still works because it's energy matched and rule based, and it's not dependent on fixed positions in the day, but it takes your realities into consideration. If you don't know what your peaks are yet, it's not clear yet. So nudge your environment, like figure it out. Daylight in the morning, 5 to 10 minutes of movement before deep work, caffeine timing that helps, not hijacks your focus. If you're a caffeine drinker, track that for a week and the patterns will appear. Just kind of push to see what I can figure out and what I can do better. And then there are team constraints. That's just a reality that exists, right? There's other people that you work with or for. Try and share your daily focus sprint time and the why. Almost always a 60-minute no message window is acceptable when you frame it as, this will help me deliver better outputs for the team. If you're the boss, you don't have to worry. Just tell them what you're doing. But if you work for or alongside other people, then just frame it as, please help me with this. It's going to help me help all of us. Traditional time management assumes stable attention and cheap switching. Neurodivergent brains and honestly most modern lives benefit from energy first design, and I'm going to remind you of the steps of that, okay? So first, map your energy. Match task types. Keep a 3-item priority stack. Sprint with 1 restart cue. Use friction controls. Swap directly when plans shift. And plan only 60% of your capacity. You can start today by protecting 1 high energy window for a single meaningful task. Okay? So if today's episode hit home and you are ready to stop fighting against your brain, especially before the holidays and all that chaos sets in, grab the free Flow Day Blueprint. It is super quick. It takes literally 10 minutes. And it will help you map your natural energy so you can plan a day that you'll actually follow, even during the busiest seasons. Get it at ADHD.com and anywhere that you can find the podcast. I really hope that this helped, because when I switched and shifted to focusing on my energy, the shame and the guilt didn't melt away, but it is a lot easier. So try something. Tell me how it goes. Let me know. And thank you so much for listening. I'm proud of you. You got this. And I will see you next time, squirrels. Bye.